I see history as a grand history painting, two-dimensional, almost infinite in scope and scale and dimensions. And I see a kind of machine, a history machine, which produces and generates the feed of historiomes, I call them. And historiomes are just history paintings that are two-dimensional, but it's like a paper coming out of a scroll of paper, an infinite scroll of paper coming out of a typewriter, except the typewriter is a special machine that produces the historiome, which is the shape, if you will, abstractly, an abstraction of the surface of an historical shape, historiographic shape, the typological shape, and everything, the different shapes of the population history, the epigenome of populations and migration. Because there's always migration, migrants, of the cultures, and the culture with a capital C, which has a cultural treasure that it tries to transmit intergenerationally. And when you look at history, you see it's happening simultaneously right now. My experience of life is simultaneous. I stop feeling the experience of time. I just feel my life from beginning to end in one simultaneous, simultaneous moment. And in that moment, I see history passing, and all the events. I don't have to even read the news. I know just from the sound of the air, space outside, the acoustic space outside my door, I can tell whether there's harmony or disharmony, whether there's consonance or dissonance in the resolution of the waves from dissonance to consonance and the cosmic asymmetries. And I hear them and I feel them for the entire airspace, which covers the world. I can't hear what's on the other side, just what's on within the round circle of the horizon that I'm a part of. So if I'm moving, I can hear as far as Montreal. If I'm on the highway with the windows open in a car, I can hear a lot of things. I hear all the motors of the cars and the different frequencies that they're playing at, if you can call it playing. And I hear the birds, and every bird, if there's a flock of birds making sounds like crows, when there's a conference of crows, I hear all the frequencies, and I can tell you the notes, and I can write a symphony with the notes of or do sound design, and through analog or digital synthesis, I can synthesize the sounds of the birds and groups of people. But I do have a more ambient experimental approach to sound design, and I do make images too, paintings and digital designs, mostly what I call noise fields, which is the noise synthesis or digital synthesis, and they're just um, n by m or m by n, or usually they're square, so it's m by m dimensions, like we'll say 968 pixels by 968 pixels, so that you multiply that by I don't know how many pixels that makes, and they're all randomly distributed. And I try to start with noise, pure noise. Well, not pure because it's pseudo randomly generated, but it's Gaussian in distribution, sometimes uniform, usually black and white. And then I create layers, and I create more noise, and I use a arithmetic blend modes. I like the difference blend mode because I can take two layers and then create a difference, and the differential of the two creates a new third one, and I save that, and then I modulate that. I call it modulation. It's similar to modulation in music. It's not modulation like with like I don't know, with oscillators or whatever. It's not sound design. I use the sound design practice, the experimental sound design, rigorous, comprehensive, ambient experimental sound design workflow management methodology that I use in design that I learned when I studied computer assisted sound design. I just applied that to digital design and images. I do the same thing with writing. I write novels, long novelistic phenomenologies of 400 to 1,000 pages a piece, and I share them, snippets of them online on all of the networks. And I do this all day long, for maybe 8 to 10 hours a day. Sometimes I take 2 days off on the weekend to play music with my band and my bassist. We meet on Saturdays, and I have a very strict schedule. I'm kind of like an Kantian in that sense, where you can time your clocks by my movements, because I'm in tune with my environment, and that's just a gift. I was given that at birth, and maybe in the uterine existence, because I do kind of hear sounds that seem like they come from outside the universe, as though the universe was a uterus. my mother's uterus, which was removed, but she's dead now. And so the history that happens simultaneously in what I call the historiosphere. It's the simultaneous. It's not simultaneous in the sense because of relativity, Einstein's relativity. It's not all happening at the same time because of the distance and the time it takes for light and other signals to travel. But for all intents and purposes, it's simultaneous with the new technologies that we have, the digital telecommunication technologies with satellite communication, mobile telephony. So, what happens in, we'll say, Russia and Moscow or St. Petersburg, I can access that through the media. I can also access it through culture, because culture is that noise field that permeates all of the earth, the historiosphere. And as an artist, as a painter with my painter's almanac, I can, I know, and I read my song cycles about, for yearly liturgical cycles of songs, which are maybe 400 to 600, maybe 1,000 songs a year. They can be short. I mean, they usually have to be short because I can't really concentrate for longer than 2 minutes of music. It gets boring after 2 minutes, no matter how interesting it is, even my own compositions.